Howdy folks! Hope you're all enjoying your weekend, and yes, I know, so much for taking a week off. I'm back, Lone Echo yesterday, and Fractured Space today with yet another brand new game mode. Seriously, it's like Edgecase Games are updating this game every month. And the new game mode is called The Rift. And this is it.
After the discovery of the artifact, the race was on. Mankind began its second great expansion, this time in search of arcane technology. In their race for power, a lot of people got in a lot of trouble. And that's where we came in.
This is Mutant Sidis of the ICSR ship Daedalus, requesting assistance. We are stranded in the Rift. I repeat, this is ICSR ship Daedalus.
The Rift had gained quite a reputation. Ships that went there didn't come back. We were about to find out why.
So, I'm in the Superlifter, which is a support ship, and I have to admit I've never actually played this ship before, which could be very bad news for my teammates. Anyway, yes, the Superlifter. Actually, we'll talk about the Superlifter in a moment. First, the Rift. What's this all about? Well, it's substantially different from other game modes in Fractured Space. And what they seem to be doing is they're kind of, with each new mode that they introduce, Discovery, Last Stand, and now the Rift, they seem to be expanding on a storyline. Each one seems to follow in a natural progression from the other. What's going on here in the Rift is both teams have a destroyer, but the destroyer is crippled. Now, there's only one sector here in the Rift, so there's none of that jumping around various different lanes and fighting your way from one end to the other, League of Legends style, before unlocking access to the enemy base and taking it down. You can still jump around various points in this sector, but it is all just one sector. Each team has a destroyer, but the destroyer is kind of crippled and needs to be repaired. In order to repair it, you have to collect resources from various different points around the map and then get those resources back to the destroyer. As soon as you've collected enough resources to get your destroyer up and running, then you must escort your destroyer across the map and help it take down the enemy team's destroyer. And that's it. It's actually pretty simple. Now, as for my ship, the Superlifter, yes, I have just lost an ally, but you're a healing ship, Jingles. How can you lose an ally? Well, I discovered very early on that the Superlifter doesn't heal allies in the same way as other ships that have healing beams. And you do tend to suffer from, well, anybody who's ever played a healer in a multiplayer game knows all too well the frustration of your allies running away from your heals. Stand still while I'm trying to heal you. You get that a lot in the Superlifter. See, instead of having a healing beam weapon, it fires a healing buoy, which generates an area of effect healing field. And the ally that we just lost there was taking damage, and I fired a healing buoy to cover him, and he immediately powered up his engines and flew out of the radius of the healing buoy. So yeah, he died. Oh well, never mind. What can you do? Now, I've just picked up a load of resources from that wrecked ship that I was orbiting, and with my cargo bays full, I now really want to head back to our destroyer, dump the resources, get the repairs underway so that we can get our destroyer into action before the enemy team get theirs. If you look at the top of the screen, you'll see status bars indicating the repair status of both teams' destroyers. Now, this is the first time I've played the Rift, and it never occurred to me that I could jump back to the destroyer. So I'm going to be doing this the old-fashioned way, because I'm crap, and I'm going to be flying back to the ship. And there it is, you can see it off there in the distance. The Superlifter is actually fairly quick. The reason it's called the Superlifter is that it's essentially a tug. You have tug drones that you can use either on yourself or on allies, which give you a boost to your movement speed. They are very, very vulnerable to point defense or fighters, however, so they're not best used in the thick of combat. And there's our destroyer. We've dumped our resources, and you can see that the destroyer's health bar at the top of the screen, the blue one, that's ours, is doing quite well, better than the enemy team at least. And now it's time I got back into the combat, because we've got one ship knocked out and another one taking a battering, And again, I could probably have used the jump drive to jump to specific points within the sector, but this is the first time I played the Rift, and honestly it never even occurred to me. Because I'm crap. Another feature of the Superlifter is, well, it gets to disable your engines. Most of the features of the Superlifter are based around movement, either buffing your or your allies' movement, or debuffing enemy ships' movement. And its firepower isn't bad either. I mean, it's no attack ship, but as far as support ships goes, it is capable of doing a fair amount of damage, providing it doesn't get focused down. If you do find yourself getting focused down, then it's time to DD-mow and get the hell out of there. And your superior mobility will help with that. Right. Let's get the missiles away, and we're going to focus down this brawler. And the second my healing boys come off cooldown, we are going to use them. I suppose the smart way to play the Rift, you know, if you're actually communicating with your teammates, would be to designate, say, 2 ships on the team to harvest resources, and the other 3 ships on the team, with one of them being a support ship, like the Superlifter for heals, designated to contest these salvage points and prevent the enemy team from gaining any salvage from them, as well as defending the ships on your team that have been designated to haul the salvage all the way back to the destroyer. Of course, that requires a bit of actual communication. And if you're playing the game with friends, that's probably the way to go. And, you know, I think it was more or less at this point when I saw other teammates who have just topped up with salvage actually using their jump drives to get out of here. The penny finally dropped and I thought, oh yeah, I don't have to fly all the way back to the destroyer after all. Actually, yeah. Missiles away, and I'm not entirely sure what's going on here. I seem to be getting pulled in by some kind of gravity well, and that ain't good, because I really don't want to be getting into a close range fight with that guy by myself. Oh, that ain't good at all. No, in fact, that is the very opposite of good. My engines are back up, I've got the tug drones assisting me. It's time to put the vaunted mobility of the Superlifter to the test, and oh, we do have a friendly has arrived. Let's fire for Healing Boy. Please don't sail out of range of the Healing Boy. He's flying out of range of the Healing Boy. Why would you do that? Well, I'm going to stick around in range of the Healing Boy, and since I'm no longer here alone, it seems to be a 2-on-2. We could use a 3-on-2. That would be nice. The golden rule here, of course, is to always focus your fire on one ship at a time. Because you kill one, I mean this is fairly obvious, but a 1-on-2 fight is way better than a 2-on-2 fight, so make it a 1-on-2 fight as quickly as possible. Okay, he's down. No sign of any further enemy backup, so it's now a 2-on-1 fight, and those are the kind of odds that I like. Right, does he need a heal? No, he does not need a heal. This is all good. Let's get the guns working, and the missiles away. And you can see the pretty quick turret traverse of the Superlifter's guns as well. It's not that bad in a close range fight. Healing Boy deployed. This was something that I did find about the Superlifter, because it is very quick, and it does tend to drift a lot in a tight turn. And until I got used to the speed of the thing, I would tend to find that I would deploy the Healing Boy and then try to get into the healing radius and just kind of overjudge it a little and go straight out the other side, but unable to slow down in time. And we've made it back to the destroyer just in time to pick up a buff, and the destroyer is now fully operational, so it's now advancing straight down the centre of the map. The enemy team's destroyer is not back up yet. And here come the enemy team in an attempt to slow down and destroy our destroyer. Now you'll note that the destroyer is being orbited, as well as by, you know, us, also a bunch of AI support ships who are constantly healing everything in range. So you kind of really need to take those out first. And I thoroughly approve of this, because, well, anybody who's played a healer in a multiplayer game will be only too aware that the enemy team do like to focus the healers down, so having a bit of competition for the enemy attention in the form of a bunch of AI healers orbiting the destroyer, who are a damn sight easier to kill than I am, is always welcome. This guy's got no chance. We've knocked his engines out. His armour has gone just about everywhere. And the enemy team still do not have their destroyer up and running. They're sending ships after us one at a time. And with the entire team guarding the destroyer, as well as the destroyer itself. I mean, it's a destroyer. It's got a lot of firepower. You really don't want to be attacking this lot one ship at a time. Because that's what's going to happen. We're just over halfway across the sector, and the enemy destroyer is not yet fully operational. And ours is just... well, there it is. It's not stopping for anything. I think we've still got most of our support frigates intact. And they're of course not just healing our destroyer if it takes any damage, they're healing us as well. So I haven't even needed to use my healing boy. Which, given that we're constantly moving across the map, I wouldn't really be able to get an awful lot of use out of it anyway. Okay. Our destroyer's taken long-range missile hits. Oh, we have another buff. Okay. Looks like both destroyers are now within range of each other, so I'm going to deploy my healing boy here. And yep, our destroyer is now unleashing its cannons on the enemy destroyer. And I'm going to focus down those healing fleets, because there's not a lot of point in trying to batter down the health of a ship that's constantly having their health replenished by a bunch of small, easy-to-kill ships. So there's one down. Is there another? Yes, there is. Although actually, that enemy destroyer is on its last legs. It's down about a third of its health bar, so screw it. Close range, missiles away. Ripple cannons firing. We should be able to overwhelm its healing. Yep, it's about to go. And we've got it. And that was the Rift. Brand new game mode in Fractured Space. I have to admit, I am quite a fan of these, well, what seem to be monthly updates for Fractured Space that Edge Case Games are pushing out. Because they're actually very, very big updates. We're not talking about just introducing a new premium ship or some new skins for existing ships. These are new game modes. It's like every time I come back to the game, there's something completely new to try out. And you know, if you think about it, this is exceptional value for money. Not least of which because it's all free. But these are major game updates, what feels like every month. This is a small independent UK games developer. We're not talking about Electronic Arts here. Nobody here is expecting you to pay $60 for the base game, then $60 for the season pass, in order for you to get what should have been included in the base game in the first place, and then if you're lucky, maybe 6 months later, the next major update. So hooray for independent games developers. And hooray for the Rift, yet another. I mean seriously, Edge Case Games, slow down. Yet another brand new game mode. Substantially different from the other game modes this time, in Fractured Space. Give it a go, it's free to play, all it's going to cost you is a download, and you never know, you might actually enjoy it. And I hope you enjoyed today's video, because that's it. In the meantime, take care, I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch you next time.